Ladies and gentlemen, there's a trend in America of people leaving the West, leaving the North, and heading south. US population center trending towards south this decade. And it's because of the cost of living. It is expensive living in certain states in this country, and the cost of living is a lot cheaper in the South. US population center is on track this decade to make a Southern swerve for the first time in history because of people like, many that live in the Northeast and places like California are now leaving these very overpriced states. So last year, the South outgrew other parts of the US by well over 1 million people through births, outpacing deaths and domestic and international migration, according to population estimates from the US Census Bureau. The Northeast and Midwest lost residents, and the West grew by an anemic 153,000 people, primarily because of a large number of residents left for a different US region. The West would have lost population if not for immigrants and births outpacing deaths. In contrast, the South grew by 1.3 million new residents, and six of the 10 US states with the biggest growth population in the South, led by Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. Experts aren't sure at this point if the dramatic pull of the South is a short term change spurred by, people just leaving, you know, or if it's a long term trend, or even what impact it will have on the relocation of political power through redistricting in 2030 census. Because of delays caused by the pandemic, changes were made in how the Census Bureau has calculated the estimates this decade, and that too may have had an impact. Experts say the Southern allure has to do with a mix of housing affordability. Trust me, housing affordability is like number one on the list. Lower taxes, the popularity of remote work during the pandemic era, and baby boomers retiring. They tend to go to the southern parts of the country. So while the cost of housing and food is lower than in California, there are hidden home upkeep costs in Florida, such as the need to paint more often because of the unrelenting sun and higher utility bills from year round air conditioning. You're in better financial shape in terms of prices in the South, but there are more expenditures to maintain property. So, if the trend continues through the rest of the decade by 2030, that means the center of the US population will head due south from a rural community. So, they're saying that, the most populated parts of the country will be the South than anywhere else if this keeps up for by the end of this decade. Since the population center was first calculated to be Chestertown, Maryland, back in 1790, it has moved continuously westward. So if this really pans out, it is a really historical event going on here. So, North Carolina state demographer said that the growth in the state, it has been above and beyond trends in the region experienced before the pandemic, which he think may have accelerated movers' decision to relocate from cold climate states or allow people to work remotely for the first time. The departures from the West started, they said the real big uptick from people leaving out of Western states started in 2021 during the first full year of the pandemic when 145,000 residents moved to another part of the US. Up until then, domestic migrant to the West had increased each year since 2010. A substantial portion of departures due to people leaving California, but Alaska, Hawaii, New Mexico, Oregon, and Washington state also had a year to year loss in domestic migration from 2021 to 2022. Additionally, several Western states that had year to year increases in domestic migration, Arizona, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, and Utah, they saw increases that were smaller than the previous year. So, some of that has to do with getting away from the big, dense coastal metro to somewhere else. One thing that needs to be questioned is the patterns of the past 2 years will continue for the rest of the decade. Yeah, who knows? But I can tell you, as long as the cost of living is cheaper in the South, yeah, I think the trend will continue. I really do. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.